It's great to be here. Susan, thank you for all the work that you've done, and the others who put this together. Teresa for taking my car for me, and she parked it somewhere. Thank you. But I will tell you, also Dean, great job. I totally believe in everything that he said, and how it's not just about electing the right people to office. It's about taking our faith and living our faith and sharing our faith, and not just being comfortable with just where we are, but actually stepping out, as we're exhorted to do through the love of Christ. Now, someone once asked me, and but before I forget, and we passed out these white sheets. Did everyone get one? If you want to fill that out and then hand it to me when you're done, I'll be happy to keep you updated on our cases. We have 52 cases in active litigation right now. We got some right there if you don't have some. 52 cases in active litigation right now defending religious freedom, parental rights, and the sanctity of human life. And we have offices now coast to coast across the United States, really working hard to make sure that everyone gets help. We have 2 offices in Northern California, 2 in Southern California, and it's been a real challenge. Someone once asked me, they said, Brad, what kind of restrictions should we place upon the church? And I told him, I said, that's really not the question. The question you're asking is really, what kind of restrictions should we place upon the conscience of the nation? Because that's exactly the role of the church in America throughout our history. We have been the conscience of the nation that brought us back to doing what's right, to doing what's just, to doing what's fair. And that's the challenge today. We have government, as Dean mentioned, that's stepping and trouncing upon our rights and our freedoms. How many of you would have thought just a year ago that we'd be facing a time when we're demonstrating here today for our right to be able to worship in the United States of America, in the state of California? How many of you would have thought for one moment that we would be potentially arrested or tried because we went to church or had a church service? That's what we're facing here in the United States today. That's why we at Pacific Justice have had Zoom calls every other week, starting every other week, servicing about 6,500 pastors and church leaders across the nation in desperation of asking the question, how can we reopen? How can we worship? How can we preach the gospel again in the United States without being arrested or being fined or having ourselves closed by law enforcement? And we've been answering those questions, and by God's grace, we've seen a lot of progress. But unfortunately, we've also had to litigate. In Washington State right now as I speak, churches are being told in Seattle that they can have up to 25% occupancy. But movie theaters right down the road are told that they can have 50% occupancy. Now, folks, just think this through logically. Is our body impacted differently medically if we're sitting there watching a movie versus hearing a sermon? No, it's not. This is overt state hostility to people of faith and institutions of faith. This is no longer about just shutting everything down. This is about bullying and saying churches are like entertainment centers at best, and even then they're put on the back of the bus. No, churches are essential, as our founding fathers made it very clear, that without faith we cannot have freedom. Without faith we do not have the ability to have freedom, because without faith we have a lawless society demanding more and more government control and oppression. Faith is critical to the survival of liberty. In Oregon right now, we're defending about 7 churches that are having an outdoor monthly worship service. Worship protest. Yes, peaceful protest. Yes, definitely. And they're out there worshiping and preaching the gospel and the hope of Christ. But there's a business right across the street. See? There's a business right across the street from there that's suing them. And let's see, what's that business's name? Planned Parenthood, that's it. Yeah, the bastion of evil. So we at Pacific Justice are defending them in that lawsuit. because it's a public place. It's protected by the Constitution, and we're defending them wholeheartedly. We had a judge to give an injunction against the governor at one time, shutting the injunction down because it was violating the 30-day rule. That was reversed by the state Supreme Court, most of who were appointed by that governor, by the way. Just a coincidence, I'm sure. California, where right now as we're speaking of a lot of cases we've had, but one in particular is defending a pastor. He's a pastor of a small African-American church in the San Francisco Bay Area. And he's committed to preaching the gospel. They wear masks, they have safe distancing. He is being prosecuted. This has been going on for several months now. And I'm not disclosing it because we're trying to get the charges dropped, but he is being prosecuted. It's gone to pretrial hearings. He's going to face up to 6 months. Face up to. He could face up to 6 months behind bars. And we're defending him right now in criminal court. I'm defending a pastor in Dallas right now. He's being apparently prosecuted for preaching the gospel in a public place near a, what's the business called again? Oh yeah, Planned Parenthood. They're really intolerant bunch, you know that? For being for choice, they're really not for very much choice. And then we're defending a church in Salinas right now, folks, that wants to move to the other side of the street in downtown Salinas. And they're right there, but they want to move down to the other side, but they're told they can't. And why can't they? Because the city says you're not fun enough. I mean, that's not my language. It's F-U-N. Fun. You're not fun enough. But the post office, no problem. I've never seen a fun post office. Anyway, we're representing them. I could go on and on about cases, but let me just give you some closing points here. First is that I believe we have the opportunity to set great case law precedent. Time is on our side. As one federal judge in Pennsylvania pointed out, government cannot forever, under the cloak of emergency and crises, step and trounce upon and ignore our fundamental rights under the Constitution. And I believe that truth is permeating and coming up. It's critical because 5-4, the Supreme Court earlier ruled that churches can be shut down and treated like entertainment centers. 5-4, we had 4 justices say, oh no, they're essential. Well, one of those 5 is no longer on the court. It's 4-4. And we've got Amy Barrett, who's ready to step in and be that 5th vote to restore our fundamental freedoms and liberties. Let's stand up for those freedoms and liberties, folks. And also, let's not pass up the opportunities that this has given us. Right now, we are helping, we've helped about 300 churches have church set up church voter registration on Sunday mornings. Over 300 in California alone. We're willing to work with you to do that at whatever your church or parish to help them do voter registration. It's legal. We're also helping churches start church homeschool co-ops to save the children, to save these children from horrific, outrageous, evil things that are being pushed now in our public schools. And it's up and down the state of California. It's gone to other states now, in 17 other major school districts, the new sex ed curriculum. The bottom line is, we have challenges, and we have tyranny. But let us never forget, folks, there may be tyranny today, but God's righteousness and justice is eternal and will prevail. God bless you all, and thank you so much for letting me be here.